Veritas is delighted to be offering again Meeting Mary, but this time in an expanded format. It's going to be led by Veritas faculty Judith Tripp, who has over 25 plus years of doing Women's Dream Quest with Veritas, and has been responsible for much of our programming on the sacred feminine. Delighted to be working with Judith. I'm going to turn it over to her and let her describe this expanded version of Meeting Mary.
Thank you, Dawn. I'd also like to start by thanking Lee Matthew, also, who is responsible for several of the beautiful images we'll be seeing later. And a thank you to Veritas for sponsoring this work over the years. And this is me sitting on my hillside, but since 1999, I've been coming to Chartres as a pilgrim. And I've facilitated this workshop since 2009. Chartres is really one of the places where my heart comes alive, and I feel like I enter into the land of the soul when I walk up the hill from the train station to the magnificent cathedral. And I hope I can share my deep love and this and my faithful pilgrimage, truly, that I've made to Chartres over these years as part of our seminar together. I put this quote here to begin because I think that with Martin Buber, one of the great teachers in my life, I believe that all real living is meeting. So this isn't viewing Mary from afar or considering all the theories and understandings of Mary. This is about meeting her. And I believe that there's all kinds of levels of meeting we do in our lives. But when we meet ourselves deeply in the heart and are able to talk to others from that place, there's something else that happens in our lives that brings us to a soul life and a spiritual journey. So I hope that we will be meeting Mary through our intellects, our senses, and our intuitive knowing. And as we go through this webinar today, I want to keep a sense of what Lauren Archetype calls the outer, the inner, and the secret meaning of our pilgrimage. I mean, certainly as you go to a pilgrimage cathedral, you are allowing yourself to stop being a simple tourist and moving into the realm of pilgrim. And I believe being a pilgrim is this kind of meeting where you encounter place and others and spiritual essence as a thou, again to quote Martin Buber. But I want to tell you about some outer things to begin. So we'll be meeting Chartres as well. And Chartres is a charming medieval village, Chartres in French. It's about an hour and 15-minute train ride from Paris. It's a large city, but where we will be in a small medieval section of it that's crowned by the cathedral. And this is a picture of this medieval village and the river Eure that basically surrounds the medieval part of the city. And we'll have a chance living in Chartres for as many days as we do to sample the beauty of the French cuisine and the patisseries and boulangeries and wonderful stores selling lovely things. There's a real feast for the senses in all ways in the village that surrounds the cathedral. And this is the cathedral that we come to visit. This was completed in 1250. There's a fire that destroyed the previous Romanesque cathedral in 1194. And there was a great miracle that occurred because the relic that was sacred to Chartres since Charles the Bald presented it in, I believe, in the 600s, a relic was thought lost. And this relic is one of, is supposed to be Mary's birthing gown, a long tunic that she wore as she gave birth to Jesus. And everyone thought that this relic was gone. And in fact, it had been spirited away down into the lowest crypt and emerged triumphant. And that story is so part of Chartres, and also so much part of the Maryan emphasis in Chartres, that that miracle allowed for people to get very excited about building this new Gothic rendition of the cathedral. And time worked in a wonderful, magical way, and the Gothic movement that was just beginning kind of came along, the right moment to build what is considered one of the most beautiful cathedrals in the world. And there's a coherence to it because really it was built primarily over 30 years, unlike many other cathedrals that have bits and pieces from other centuries. So there's something so beautiful about how Chartres really embodies an impulse. People were said to pray over the stones that were quarried not too far away, and all this was done in celebration of Mary. And then here's the labyrinth inside the nave of the cathedral. Right now, this labyrinth is still covered over with some plywood, having a little hibernation while the cathedral is being refurbished, but it will be available to us in September. I think the date for its reemergence is in July. And this labyrinth is a mirror image of the rose window that's above. And it's meant as a pilgrim path. And it's welcomed untold thousands on its winding way. All the Viriditas pilgrimages feature a candlelit labyrinth walk after the cathedral closes to tourists. It's been part of our program for over these 17 years now. But this is the first time that Meeting Mary will have a labyrinth walk of its own. So if you choose to come and be part of the Meeting Mary program, and then stay for the rest of the Viriditas seminar this year called Rising Phoenix, Birthing New Images in This Challenging Time, in These Challenging Times. That's a program that Lauren Archetype will present. You'll be able to have 2 different labyrinth walks, and I'm sure if you ask anyone who's gone on pilgrimage with us, you will hear incredible stories of really life-changing experiences as people are able to walk on this labyrinth in the stillness of the evening. In September, it will be nice and dark outside, so we'll be feeling the inward pull of the season, turning a little bit toward autumn at that point. So let me tell you a little bit about the outer part of our pilgrimage so you have an idea what we're doing. The schedule, as all good schedules are, is subject to a bit of change, but it'll give you an idea where we're going. So on the Saturday, we'll gather around 2 o'clock, and we'll really emphasize calling our circle together because I think we are mirrors for each other as we do this kind of pilgrimage. And this day will be a day of inner work that culminates in the labyrinth walk. So we'll be doing some work together, calling our circle, knowing who each of us is, and then doing some writing practice that prepares us to be the pilgrims that we are and takes us into a deeper, soulful knowledge of where we're going. We'll also prepare for the walk, and we'll be joined by a group of Belgian pilgrims. My dear friend Frank de Baudrier is going to bring a group of I believe 20 people with him, and people that have been working together kind of in the old world ways, and they will be sharing the space with us in the evening. So we'll have a way to meet them and come to some level of understanding, even though we won't be speaking the same language. But they will join us for the walk. And then 7 to 10 is a guest, but we'll be assembling at the north porch of the cathedral. I'll show you a picture of that later, to have our walk. And I think this day will be a way to go deeply inward. The next day we'll come out a little bit. So we'll have a circle and we'll have some talk about the walk. And then we'll go more into the outer world a bit, bring our intellects online and study the different Maryan images that are in the cathedral, and also talk about the other Mary, who is so part of the Christian tradition, who is also depicted in the cathedral. And we'll have a lunch together in the village, and then in the afternoon we'll go back into the cathedral doing some looking at the different images and also doing some more writing practice, and then we'll end with a closing circle. So that's the outer gloss of what we're going to be doing. And I'd just like to tell you a little bit about my own experience at Chartres and what I'll be bringing to the fore as we work together. This is an image of the Black Madonna, who is called Our Lady of the Pillar, Notre Dame de Pilier. And this is how she looked in 2004 when I went to Chartres for 2.5 months on a sabbatical. And I sat in her chapel every day, and I watched a parade of people come to light a candle, to pray, to sometimes yell at her, and always to end their visit with a kiss of the pillar. That's what people do in Chartres as a sign of respect and love. And just to tell you a bit about my own process, I'd like to read you a poem I wrote while I was there. It's called Let Me Heal You with My Grace. The winds gust on a quiet Monday morning. I am alone with Mary, bundled in my shawl. Let me heal you with my grace, she says, and I face her. She is pouring through the statue with its Baroque finery. I am so glad that I know where to go to find her. Time mellows into the kairos. There are no shuffling tours today, not even the sound of the Mass, and I am able to quiet down to the essentials. Over and over again, now with a tune. Let me heal you with my grace. I am your constant mother. And my response is, please heal me with your grace, constant mother. I am your faithful and grateful daughter. I hope that we'll have a chance to sit with her also. And we will be forming a sacred circle where we can talk about our own journeys with holding the Divine Mother archetype, with understanding the sacred feminine and what it means to us. This is just a very full experience of a particular expression of Mary in this cathedral. So this is to give you some ideas about what we'll be seeing. This in our labyrinth walk, this is a picture of the labyrinth with its path illuminated. One of Lee's pictures, beautiful. And imagine yourself walking on that path. In the energy of that particular place, I don't think there's anything quite like the center of the labyrinth in Chartres Cathedral. The feeling of it is unique in all the world, and there's a sense of honoring certainly Mary, but also honoring an integration of energies of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine in this place that's hard to put into words, but hopefully the experiences we have will give you a taste of that. And this is a picture of the statue I showed you with the Baroque finery before. Her and with her pearwood self, beautiful carving. You can see the different images, and I'll show you what's happened to her recently. This is what's happened to her recently. This is a French depiction of this same statue. It's hard to believe it's the same statue as the one several slides ago. This has caused a lot of controversy. It's interesting how, as we start to think and use our minds about all these things, that many factors come in about politics and about depictions of the feminine, etc. This is ostensibly a beautiful, beautiful rendition of paint on wood, and yet you can notice her change of pallor, and which has caused a lot of people to have a lot of different feelings. But personally, I feel like the presence she holds in the cathedral is unwavering. And if she were to come dressed with blue hair and some other kind of costume, she might also still be there. And this is one of the mysterious and secret things that I think we learn if we live within Chartres Cathedral for even a couple of days. And this is another picture of Mary. There's something about all the statuary in Chartres that is really light and playful, unlike some others more sad and dour and penitent statues you see around in other churches and cathedrals in France. I always remember that Robert Ferret said that his thought was that about Chartres was that God had come down for a century in the 12th century, and during the time where Chartres was built and flourished, and then he left again strange thought, but I think there's something particularly special about what Chartres brings us. And it brings in terms of the honoring and love of the feminine, it brings it very strong. This is a picture of the north porch where we will meet when we do our labyrinth walk. And the color on this slide is coming from light projected across the way. And supposedly these are the colors that the cathedral was originally painted in. Can imagine coming across the plains and seeing this magnificent place. But these were the colors, saturated, lovely, excited colors. And again, the 12th century being such an incredible time, a pre-Renaissance, if you will. And this is a picture of the stone. Again, all these Maryan statues and stonework and stained glass that we will see and we'll look at both from slides and also live in the cathedral. And this is the very famous Notre Dame de Belvedere. And this particular part of Mary she came from the original window from the previous cathedral. And the blue of this there's no way to see it in a slide, but when you're there, it's a blue that doesn't exist anymore. Actually, it was so hard to work with that it was considered a poison. And after this time, it wasn't used, but it is an incredible blue. And then there's a gift from her in it, I believe. This is one of the parts of the cathedral that isn't from the 12th, 13th century, but in fact from Baroque times. And this statue is the Assumption of Mary, and many jokes have been made about this one. She's very heavy, but there's still, particularly since the restoration has occurred, it's a really lovely piece. And the idea of the sacred feminine bridging between heaven and earth is very, very, very clear in these images, and we'll talk about that as we do our work on Sunday. So again, the arc of this workshop is to go deeply within on the first day and have our labyrinth walk, and then on Sunday to really consider some of the very interesting thoughts about where the sacred feminine is in our present time. I think that there's so many ways to look at Mary, and to look at Mary Magdalene along with her, because if you look at it from an anthropological point of view, these are the Christian goddesses in some way. If you look at it from a Catholic point of view, Mary is the supreme mother of God, and she's unique in all the world. And there's an incredible Catholic story about her, which we'll talk about at length. And then you can look at the New Age depiction of Mary, where she's thought to be, the component with Jesus of bringing in this new age, and in that way woven into the Christian story so deeply. Mary's an archetype. Mary's many, many, many things to many people. But the fact that she's revered world over and in every culture, I think does let us know that she's something that allows us to tune into the deepest level of compassion and mercy in us. And as we relate to her and let her come toward us, something deeply heals in us. And that's been my experience really in these years of visiting her, of meeting her. And as any meeting and any relationship is, I think there's something that grows as you tend it and as you think about it, as you write poetry about it, and as you sing. So these 2 days we'll spend together. We will engage all our senses. We will be able to see beautiful images, and we'll be singing together, and we'll be doing ritual together. And we will be using our minds and intellects to try to figure out what's the purpose of Mary in this time. I think Andrew Harvey, when he came to Chartres back in 2003, really said something very profound about Mary. He said she's not just this relic from the past, meek and mild in the background. She is, in fact, the sacred she who comes in every age to bring us what we need. And we all know how much we need this ground in this crazy world we're living in at the moment. And I think this time together, and as we come together in the circle and talk about this, will feed each of us in our understandings of what can happen in the world and how she can be relevant in us, however we hold her, as archetype, as goddess, as the Mother of God. So this is my friend Eve, and he sings outside the cathedral and asks for money and gives flowers. If any of you have been to Chartres, you probably have run into him. He's one of my absolute favorite beings in the entire world, and he will sing to us. We'll make sure that we go and visit him. He stands on different parts of the cathedral, and hope he's there. Never know. When I first went, let's see, what was this? Maybe 2003. I went in February once with my friend Kay. Nobody was there. The labyrinth was closed. It was very cold. But Eve encountered us at the doorway and gave us each a holy card. And it was clear that he was there for Mary. I mean, and he will tell you that. And he is very involved in the cathedral and saying the rosary during May, during the month of Mary. And he's part of the story. So I really hope that many of you will come join us. So I was going to start saying this is my very favorite thing to do. I didn't say that at the beginning, but I do say this now. I mean, for all the work I do in different circles and different places, truly this speaks to my heart so fully, and I really enjoy sharing that energy and that experience with you. So look forward to meeting a good circle of you in September. Thank you.